Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Coaches on a Mission. I'm Dallas Travers. I'm really happy you're here. So Coaches on a Mission, really, this is the show for you if you want to learn highly actionable strategies that you can apply directly to your coaching business. It's also got this whole other element to it because my goal bringing back the podcast is twofold. Yes, I want to give you business strategies. Like I just mentioned, I want you to feel inspired to take action after every episode. I also want to inspire you to go deeper and diversify your coaching skills simply by listening along. So this fall, we're actually going to be opening up the first official cohort of the New Era Coaching Academy. This is something that's been on my heart and mind for a few years now, and I'm so thrilled it's coming to life. And the Academy is really where you're going to learn the tools and the frameworks that I've developed over my 2 decades of coaching to become an excellent coach who always knows how to put the client first. So if you're inspired by my style of coaching and you want to deepen your skills, you're absolutely in the right place. I'm going to share more about the New Era Coaching Academy in the coming episodes, so stay tuned. But I just wanted to plant that seed for you today. All right, so speaking of today, we are going to have a very juicy conversation about scaling. And I love talking to coaches about scaling because I think a lot of times when we hear of scaling or think of scaling, we really think of these programs that have hundreds, if not thousands of people in it. It's like me to the masses. And that's one version of scaling, but there are a lot of other possible pictures that are equally as powerful. So how can a coach whose entire model is really built a lot on individual client work, how can they begin to relate to their business or the model differently so that they can scale without compromising the quality of the work or compromising their clients' needs and expectations? So Julie Covert is here today to have this conversation with me. She turns aspiring writers into excited authors. Julie's got a signature system, and she calls it Success Signals for Writers. And through this system, clients, they come in and they bring their writing muse back to life. They refill their inner ink pot while avoiding a lot of writing pitfalls. So Julie wants to scale, and I'm totally here for this conversation. Julie Covert, welcome to Coaches on a Mission.
Thank you, Dallas. Thanks
Yeah.
for having me. I'm super excited.
I'm really glad to have you here. All right, so we're talking about scaling your business, and I think it might be a really helpful place to begin to just hear from you what the model looks like right now, and then I'll probably have some questions about what you want to change or what's not working, and then we'll go from there. Does that sound okay?
Absolutely.
Great.
Sounds great.
Let's do it.
So, clients come to me first through filling out a new client questionnaire about themselves and their books. And then we do a discovery call, usually about 20 minutes. And usually I've reviewed first pages of their manuscript if they have one.
Mm-hmm.
In that first call, we're talking about what their immediate questions are and what their immediate goals are, as well as long-term goals. And then I'm suggesting to them what I feel would be an optimal package of coaching or book editing with them would
Great.
be.
So
And
tell me more about the packages. What do those look like once a client says yes? How are you
yeah,
working with them?
it depends on if they have a manuscript or not. If they don't have a manuscript, then it's doing I call it my trail planner. And we have a mini trail planner or we have a full trail planner where we identify who their reader is, what their story or memoir or nonfiction topic is, what their time frame is, what their goals and objectives of the book is, and then identify with them in this trail planner what their next actionable steps are. Sometimes it's mapping out the contents of the book, mapping out the structure of the story, the structure of the memoir, the timeline of the memoir, or the topics to cover and the objective learnings of a nonfiction book.
Okay. Can I reflect what I understand so
Sure.
far? So, one offer is the trail planner, and that's really where you're blueprinting the book itself.
Yep.
You're it's called a planner for a reason. Before they write a word or before they begin working with you, the first step in the work is to map it all out. So, at the end of the trail planner, I'm going to have a full map. I'm going to understand these key components that you listed, plus I'm going to know the next area of focus.
Correct.
Did I get it?
Bingo.
Okay.
Bingo.
Okay,
Yep.
great. So what
Then
happens after the trail planner?
then we move into their manuscript. If
Okay.
they have one, if it's a really rough first draft, or if it's their fifth draft,
Uh-huh.
we take the information that they've put in that trail planner and apply it to the manuscript. If they don't have a manuscript, now they have a solid foundation that they can write in the right direction
Mhm.
without writing themselves off a cliff.
Okay. So in this next phase, we either begin writing or rewriting.
Exactly.
Okay, great. And how are you if I'm a client, we finished the planner. How are we working together? How often are we meeting? How many pages are you reading? Like, what does that working relationship look like? And I want to narrate for our listeners. Everybody, the reason I'm asking these questions is Julie is here today because she's trying to figure out how to scale her offer. So I need an understanding of the different phases of the offer so that we can start brainstorming how to scale.
So for my full trail planner, it's 5 meetings where
Mm-hmm.
they've submitted information that I then review with them, and then we get into the manuscript. And they can send me a manuscript, a complete full manuscript for a developmental edit, or we can work section by section,
Mm-hmm.
20 or 50 pages at a time for editing. And sometimes I'll combine developmental editing with line editing. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a real in-depth
Yeah.
feedback so that then when we're done the entire manuscript, they've got something to then move forward and pitch agents.
Okay. So the writing and or rewriting phase, there are different levels of like how hands-on you are or how whether you're going line by line or bigger picture, but the goal with that process is for me to have a final manuscript that I am proud enough of that I can then take to the streets and self-publish or pitch it to an agent or directly to
Exactly.
publishers. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay, great. How much time are you so if I'm a full Trailblazer package, how much time are you spending doing line edits on my book?
Okay. So the line edits is on the book is different than the trail planner.
Now I'm confused.
Okay, sorry. So
No, don't be sorry. But this is good because if you're explaining
right,
this to me step by step and I'm confused, how many other
right.
potential clients
Exactly.
are confused?
Exactly. So the trail planner is planning out or mapping out the book. And
Mhm.
then we get you into the line editing of your manuscript, which is independent, separate from the trail planner.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I see how you misunderstood me. I was just basically saying I'm a client. We've already planned my book. I've done the trail
Yep.
planner.
Okay.
Now we're moving into this next phase of working together.
Correct.
I want to get a sense for how many hours you're spending on any individual client, and therefore how many clients you can actually service at a time with this current model.
Okay. Gotcha. So essentially, with the in-depth line notes that I'm doing, it's an hour for 1,000 words.
Okay.
So in an average memoir is around 80,000 words.
Mm-hmm.
So that's 80 hours.
80 hours.
And
Okay.
then also we're incorporating a 45-minute call
Yeah.
and the emails and
So
back and forth. So
it's probably double that. It's probably 160 hours.
no,
No?
I with that hour per 1,000, that includes my editorial letter to the client. And so for each 45-minute phone call, it's about another 15 minutes
Oh, okay.
front and back.
Great.
Yeah, it's pretty streamlined.
Oh, that's great. That's awesome to hear. All right. So let's fast forward to a time in the not too distant future where you and I are talking and you're telling me about how good it feels now that you have scaled your business. I want you to just describe what that version of scaling might look like for you to the degree that you can, because we haven't really figured out what that looks like yet. But what does it feel like? Like, just take me through the experience a little bit for you.
In all honesty, I don't know, Dallas. That's
Mhm.
why I reached out to you and said, "Hey, pick me." And the reason why I say that is I love the one-on-one coaching. I
Mhm.
love giving the love of one-on-one feedback. However, if I want to achieve a six-figure income or high five, which is
Mhm.
really what my goal is, a high five, not working full time. I know I can't do it with one-on-one.
Yeah.
So, um, one of my other challenges is starting next June, I'm not going to be readily available to be just saying, here's my calendar, pick any time in the next 3 weeks. I'm going to have limited communication because my husband and I are taking our tall ship business, Schooner Huron Jewel, on a multi-year goodwill tour. So I'll be working from the tall ship.
Okay.
And so I really need to be able to create a scalable program where it's mostly email type communication
So tell me if I understand.
or
Mhm.
in the very limited once or twice a month Zoom type chat.
Yeah. Okay. Tell me if I'm understanding this correctly. You will have time to work on your business and like read pages and do all of the work you do to serve your clients outside of reliably being able to get on a phone call or a Zoom with them. But it's not like you're going to be out to sea with no time to work on your business. Is that accurate?
Correct.
Okay.
I'll have time, just won't necessarily have the FaceTime.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, great. All right. So there are, in my mind, three possible approaches here when it comes to scaling. And for our listeners, like scaling is anytime you move from privates into something else. So that could be a group of one into a group of four. It could be a group of one into a group of 4,000. But I think there are three possible avenues, and a lot of times we take more than one, Julie. One is to scale your systems.
Okay.
The other is to scale the team, and then the third is to scale your, I'm going to call it, let's call it your students, or let's call it clients. Scale your clients. So scaling your systems would look like, okay, we got to find a solution that takes me out of the requirement of hopping on Zoom. So
Hmm.
we're bringing in other support systems. Scaling the team looks like, does your business now become one where you're placing clients with other coaches and earning a commission or a percentage of the work coaches do, just as an example. And then the third, scaling your clients, is the one most coaches think of, which is, how do I work with, like, how do I meet with a group instead of an
Right.
individual? But I'd love to propose that we start by looking at how to scale the system here.
Okay, great.
Cool. So imagine now that I'm your client and you're delivering the best work you have ever delivered for a client. And yet we've never talked on Zoom. What would have to be true in order for you to feel like, yeah, this is totally working. Dallas is getting my best ideas, my best work. She's making progress. She's right on time.
I guess I don't know what your question is.
Oh, okay. Thank you for clarifying. I want you to, using your own creativity or brainstorming here, tell me what client communication would have to look like in order for you to say, yeah, I'm scaling this and I'm delivering excellent work.
I really don't know. Um, to me, I've done so much work with clients just email and phone. Only lately have I been hopping on Zoom calls.
Mhm.
So that's all the technology that I've used, and it's actually worked quite well.
Mhm. So first, let's
So,
get into what it feels like. So I'm not asking you to name a technology. If you could do that,
uh,
we wouldn't be
my
talking,
personal
right?
my
Yeah.
personal
Yeah.
oh,
So, like, what does it
okay,
feel like for you? Like, what's the flow?
okay,
Just get into like that groovy
gotcha.
space before we start
Yeah,
making a list of tech.
yeah, very, very satisfying, very rewarding, happy that I'm able to help people achieve their dreams.
Great. Now, tell me, what is the utility of or the benefit of us meeting on Zoom or meeting on the phone at a regular cadence if I'm your client?
Keeping you moving forward, keeping
Okay.
you on track, helping
Right.
you answer questions that sometimes it just takes too long to ask
Mhm.
or answer via email or text,
Mhm.
or sometimes just saying, "Hey, I need," a client will say, "I need help figuring this out," and they just need to talk it out, get the impromptu feedback
Yeah.
going.
Yes, or even just be witnessed as they're talking talking it
Right,
through to themselves to even
right.
uncover what the question is. It's one of my favorite parts about coaching, actually.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. That's
Okay.
why I'm doing what I do.
So, the purpose and the benefit to the client of these regular meetings are that built-in accountability. Maybe I haven't looked at my manuscript at all in the last 2 weeks, but I know I'm meeting with you tomorrow, so I'm getting to it tonight, right? That,
Right.
like, healthy pressure is so
Yeah.
great. It keeps me on track, which is similar to what we just talked about. And then there's this less tangible piece around the value of those conversations and what it illuminates for the client to just be in a feedback loop with you.
Right.
Okay.
And the
Yeah.
other thing is one of my superpowers
Mhm.
is that they figure out what my clients' challenge is with communication. So they may have a hard time actually writing ideas because their brain is spinning and spinning and spinning. Or they go off on tangents because they're super creative, or they go down a rabbit hole because
Mhm.
they're really wanting to figure out what is going on and they want all the nitty gritty, or they're super emotionally attached to aspects of the book. And so that's where my success signals for writers comes in, is helping them understand how that can hold them back, how
Mhm.
it can prevent them from moving forward, as well as how to then utilize their writing styles in a positive way.
Yeah. Got it.
And again, it's something that doing one-on-one coaching can really make a difference.
Mhm. Mhm.
However, and this is also a workshop that I run, that people, when they're in a group of 5 or 20, they hear me coaching someone else, they realize, "Oh, she's talking about me also."
Yeah. Absolutely. That's why I like coaching groups so much. Okay. So, fast forward to you being on the boat. You can't get on Zoom, but you do have internet access, right? It might be a little spotty in some places, and your work day might be an hour here or there or a chunk of
Right.
time, but you've got internet access. What can we put in place with the way you work with clients to accomplish the goal of keeping them on track and moving forward?
That's my question for you and
Great.
how to scale it.
Yeah. So we're stepping into our own creative intelligence here. I'm going to do it. You're going to do it. You don't have to know the name of the tech, but what could it look like to tick the box of accountability and forward progress?
Just staying in contact with
Okay.
them.
Staying in contact. And I think it's like an accountability loop,
Yeah.
right? That
Yep.
might even be generated. It might be helpful for them. I'm kind of making this up on the fly here, but it could be helpful to have, it could even be a calendaring system, right?
Mhm.
Where we take the trail planner,
Yep.
you've got milestones there, right? So
Right.
then you and the client have a shared calendar with all of those dates. And the
Yep.
shared calendar automatically sends a day before reminder and a 30-day before reminder. You could also pre-schedule just using Gmail emails to go out on those same dates with a request for their pages,
Materials.
their traction report, like whatever it is you're asking. So you could, in part of your onboarding process, map all of that out. So those reminders are built in and the calendar appointments are already there for the client.
Makes sense.
So then if I am your client and I get my email reminder, let me back it up. How does it work now when we have a private session on the calendar? How does the accountability work now? Do I have a report I fill in? Do you start the session checking in on my progress? Like how are you holding me accountable right now?
When we're working together, we're going to schedule a mutually appropriate date, and I'll be saying, okay, I'm needing this material for you, or you will have already submitted it to me. And then I'll send you a confirmation of we're going to meet by phone or we're going to meet through FaceTime or Zoom or
Yeah.
something like that.
Okay. And
Yeah.
then we meet and I either say I've got my pages or I don't and we coach around that
Right.
and yeah, okay.
Exactly.
Okay. I am envisioning that you can very easily provide this same type of support using that calendar, like just kind of over calendaring,
Mhm.
if you will, pre-scheduling those reminder emails, and then having a tool like Voxer, maybe even like Signal or WhatsApp, where you can essentially use it like a walkie-talkie.
Hmm.
Have you used Voxer before?
No, no.
Voxer is an app. It's free. It's
Okay.
very easy to use. You just kind
Okay.
of hit the green button and talk into it, and it functions just like a walkie-talkie.
Okay.
So I'm imagining this is where it's going to get into the nitty-gritty and maybe break
Sure.
down. But I'm imagining that with the client, okay, so I'm your client and I know I've got this due date of today's June 29th. So I've got this due date of June 30th. And I've got to get my first 15 pages to you. I'm making that up. It's irrelevant,
Yep.
right? I get the email reminder saying like reply back and send your pages. And then I know that back and forth over the next 3 to 5 days, we're going to talk on Voxer
Hmm.
asynchronously to talk through my questions, for you to give feedback, all of those things you might do on a session. Now, Julie, what I really like about Voxer is there's there have been times where I Voxered with someone and we're both there in real time, actually
Okay.
talking. There's been
Okay.
other times where I'll get a message. I got one this morning and I won't get back to it until this evening. And there's just no pressure there's no pressure either way. It's this asynchronous conversation. And as long as you've got this 72-hour or 5-day window where the client knows we're going to be talking through whatever I was accountable for, I think that gives you flexibility while keeping some time constraints for the client. How do you
Okay.
like that idea?
Yeah. Sounds fascinating.
Cool. I don't think you'll get much resistance to Voxer other than people just having never heard of it before. So there's that natural hesitation to learn a new
Sure.
tool, but it's extremely easy and it's free for your clients.
Okay. Okay.
All right. So take me through. So we're just kind of building this vision out a little bit where you can still provide great support, but do it asynchronously.
Hmm.
We talked about the calendaring, pre-scheduling email reminders, and then these windows of time where you can have
Hmm.
this asynchronous walkie-talkie coaching. I'm going to invite you to sit with that for a second and see what, if any, ideas or questions come up for you before we move on to the next step.
That that sounds good to me. Because
Totally doable, right?
yeah, yeah. Because I also tell my clients right now, if if they do have any quick questions, feel free to email me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm on email quite frequently. So again, sometimes we'll be emailing back and forth a little bit. So yeah, the Voxer sounds like it would be easy enough.
Yeah, and I think because it allows people, I can type if I want, I can also just verbally process. So
Hmm.
I think it mimics a conversation
Sure.
like much more closely than just emailing or text.
Hmm. Yep.
There's also another tool, two tools I want to share with you. There is a plugin for Voxer called TLDL,
Okay.
which stands for too long didn't listen instead of didn't read. And it summarizes a Voxer message. Because
Oh,
sometimes
cool.
I'll get an audio and I'll say, oh, this is 9 minutes long. I am not ready for this.
Hmm.
But TLDL will kind of summarize it a bit to help me make my way into listening,
Get
if you will.
get the gist of it.
Yeah.
Sure.
And then another tool I've been using a lot lately, which I love because I am a verbal processor, it's called Whisper Flow.
Okay.
And Whisper
Never heard of
Flow,
that one.
you can use it on your computer. You can also use it on your phone. It's essentially a very accurate dictation tool that
Okay.
plugs the text directly into whatever other app you're using.
No. Okay.
I'll use it on walks, just to grab my ideas. I really like it a lot. It's called Whisper Flow.
Cool.
So these are tech tools, right, that you can think about integrating into your onboarding system so your client feels even more supported than they
Sure.
did knowing that they see you for 45 minutes every other week or however you had it scheduled. Okay, what, if any, other ideas or questions do you have around scaling the system before we talk about potentially scaling clients or scaling the team?
I think that answers a lot of,
Love it.
yeah.
Great. Great. I want to narrate a story for our listeners, Julie. I think it'll be valuable for you too.
Okay.
In my former life, when I was a business coach for actors, my signature program, I taught it. This was like before Zoom. Okay, this was a very long time ago. My signature program was something I taught as a group, and taught it to a group of 16 people because that's how many folding chairs I had. Like, that's how many chairs would fit in the room. And then I published a book, and I was living in Los Angeles, but there were actors kind of all over the world now who wanted to work with me. And I couldn't see how I could make that possible because how are you going to fly to LA and take one of the 16 folding chairs and join
Right.
me? And I realized I had this invisible belief that the coach, had to be there to witness the students in order for them to get value.
Hmm.
And then I was kind of forced to scale, and I took the same course and I moved it to a platform called Maestro Conference, which was just like calling in on the phone, right? This was before Zoom. And wouldn't you know it, those students made more progress than my students who met in the room. And I was running an in the room LA program as I was running like a global online program. And what I found was the togetherness that people felt coming in the room kind of got disguised got misunderstood as progress. When
Hmm.
people who weren't in the room, they had to try a little harder to make connections. They had to put a little more effort in to
Hmm.
show up for class, and it showed in the results that they got.
Interesting.
So I love sharing this story because it just is such a good reminder for us coaches that we can always adapt and adjust. And just because we're removing ourselves even a little bit from the process doesn't mean we're compromising anything for our clients. In fact, we could be making it better for them if we're open to that. I had one other idea around scaling the system, and then I'd love for us to just brainstorm for a minute or two about what it might look like to scale the clients. I had this idea just a moment ago, which was perhaps when you're looking at your calendar for this week and on Thursday you're going to be docked somewhere, you're going to have really reliable internet. You could, as part of your service to all your clients, you could do pop-up office hours
Oh.
where people don't know, like, it's not a part, it's a bonus. right?
Yep.
And it's positioned as like, as we're traveling, when it makes sense for your needs and for everybody's schedule, I will announce pop-up office hours where we can come together on Zoom. And if you have a question, you can get that answered. And you're also going to meet some of my other clients who are there in the process. And wouldn't it be great if you forged some friendships here? I think that could be a really
I love it.
a nice extra element for you to be able to see
Yeah.
their faces sometimes too,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Cool. Cool.
Yeah. No, I love that idea, Dallas. Thank you.
Cool. Yeah, you're so welcome. So let's jump over to this other possible way to scale, and that is scaling the clients, meaning how can I take what I'm doing and deliver it to more than one person at a time? What, if any, thought have you given to that model up until now?
I've wanted to try and figure out how to do it,
Mm-hmm.
but I haven't been able to come up with anything that because the challenge of not having a solid schedule.
Yeah. And a solid internet connection. Let's be real, right?
Well, the internet connection isn't so much a problem as
Mm,
the solid schedule.
as a schedule.
You
Got
know,
it.
it's like I could say, okay, I'm gonna do group coaching for 4 to 6 people, and we'll have a June, July, August summer cohort
Mm-hmm.
that is going to meet every 2 weeks on a Thursday. Theoretically, if I was home in my home office, but being on the ship, I may I'm not going to necessarily have that type of schedule
Yeah.
flexibility.
Yeah. So you mentioned earlier on, you just barely mentioned it, that you have all of these success signals. And part of the work that you do is help your clients identify their signals and really have the tools to then run with those things. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay. Is the success signals, I slush my S's a little bit, so I can really hear myself getting slushy here with your the name of your signature system. So with your signature system, how well would it work, Julie, if you had all of those tools like as pre-recorded trainings? Is it deliverable in that same sort of way?
It could be.
It could be.
Yeah.
Hmm. If it was delivered in that way, what would it look like?
So there's 4 different types of
Hmm.
writers that I've identified. And so there could be an overview for each one. They're given different colors,
Hmm.
as one isn't any better than the other. So we could give an overview of each color and then would do then a deeper description of what the challenges are and what the benefits are. So
Hmm.
each color would have 3 recordings.
Yeah. Okay. My suggestion here is for you to, without question, test out asynchronous coaching first, keeping that one-to-one model, just making that
Mhm.
one change to asynchronous. I know your business is still relatively new, so when you feel ready, I see a world where someone does the trail planner with you
Mhm.
regardless of what they do next, right? Whether they go off on their
Right.
own or they hire you privately or they join a group.
Mhm.
And maybe the group could really be, I'm using air quotes here, but self-led. So I'm in your group coaching program.
Okay.
That also involves some Voxer support, the scheduling, like all of maybe a lighter version of what you're giving to your private clients. But also as part of the group, I'm in a pod where we come together to co-write every week.
Okay.
And we go through the training, learning our own unique writing style and holding each other accountable to leaning into the strengths and avoiding the weaknesses. There could be a world where the group meetings are totally client led.
Hmm. With the success signals for writers,
Mhm.
the the strengths and the weaknesses are there's a lot of nuance to them. So
Mhm.
it's not necessarily a hard fast. So at this point, at least, I'd have a hard time trusting that it could be participant led.
Well, I don't mean that participants step in the role of coach.
Right.
All of that, all of your natural skill and the like research that you've done to design this would
Mm,
be delivered as training. And then their
okay.
job is to self reflect based on the training, follow
Okay.
your training on how to identify when these signals are up. And then the group is there to support them in their own identification, right? In their own
Okay.
accountability, talking accountability to writing, but also accountability to leaning into these strengths and weaknesses. So you would have to
Mm,
set very clear guardrails,
mhm,
right? And really get a buy in. But that the group piece is not about them teaching each other or calling each other out or trying to find the nuance. It's about them
mhm.
supporting each other as every individual writer does that for themselves.
Okay. Okay.
So there's a
And
world where that's possible, especially for writers who have done the trail planner with you and maybe even some private work. And
mhm.
now they're ready. They need to go off and write for a while
Right. Yeah.
so they could move into one of these writing pods.
Okay.
So that's just an idea
Yeah.
about how you might like scale the clients.
Right.
What other ideas up until now have you, whether you believe they're possible or not, what other ideas have you come up with around what scaling the clients might look like?
Well, I've also been wondering how I could actually do a group coaching around the trail planner.
Mhm.
So sending, okay, this week, here's the questions, here's the writing exercises that you're going to work on this week, and then meeting to do the follow up. And then a couple of weeks later, working on the next group of questions for the
Mhm.
trail planner, and then
Mhm.
follow up with feedback.
Mhm.
But again, the challenge is having that, here's okay, you're gonna work on it for 2 weeks, and then I'll show up for that feedback.
Mhm. And the challenge with that is like you don't know if the
My
schedule. Yeah.
lack of knowing
Yeah.
when I'm gonna be in port.
Yeah. So given what you've let's use the private client example with Voxer as a framework here.
Yeah.
Take me through how you think Voxer might work for the group. Because you can have a group chat in Voxer.
Oh, okay. Well, that's interesting because, well, first off, I don't know anything about Voxer besides what you
Mhm.
just told me.
Yeah.
So if there's a group chat, and then if you and Susie are both
Mhm.
part of the cohort and you each pose your own question, but you have access to my replies,
Yeah.
then that gives the other information that they might go, I didn't know I had that question, but yes, I do. Or later down the road, they have that question, or they avoid the question because they already have the answer.
Right. Okay. So we could use you could have pods, right? Who go
Yep.
through the trail planner together. You the trail planner it's already built. It's a kind of a
It's
set
got a
curriculum.
framework.
There's more
Yep.
structure. And then rather than just meeting with you asynchronously through Voxer one-on-one, we could do it in small groups.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that TLDL tool is going to be essential there
Okay.
because like I may not want to listen to the whole conversation you have with Susie, but I'd sure like the cliff notes to see if it applies to me
Right.
and is like worth the time to sit and listen.
Yep. And then if I
Mhm.
do the pop-up
Yeah,
office hours, yeah.
great. Great.
And generally I can, like, once a month say, okay, yeah, we'll figure something out and put something on a schedule.
Mhm.
And I'll tell the captain, who's my husband, honey, I need to make some money. we need to be in port, or I need to be not doing something at this particular time
Yeah.
in 2 weeks. And so if it means we're at anchor for an extra day, we're at anchor for extra day.
Yeah. I think it's really just going to come down to planning and communicating with your clients as well as everybody on the boat,
Yeah.
right? What these meeting time when these meeting times are going to happen, but you don't have to give,
Yeah.
especially if they're positioned as a bonus pop-ups. That's just a way to surprise people and really delight them. And they'll be getting to know each other on Voxer quite a bit, so they'll be happy to see everybody's thumbnail on a Zoom.
Right. Right.
Okay, so at the beginning of our conversation, I talked about 3 possible ways to scale. It's like your students, your systems, or your team. We've
Mhm.
landed on 2, I think, really solid possibilities, and the hero of the conversation is definitely Voxer. So I'd love to just check in and see what, if anything else, you want to ask or share, and then we'll summarize your next steps.
Um, There's nothing that comes to mind right now.
Mhm.
In the next few days, I just need to mull it over and lay in bed, try and fall asleep, but think about, okay, what if I did this and what if I did that?
Great. So is mulling it over for you enough of
It's
an
it's
action
the
to be held
next
accountable
yes.
to? Great.
It's the next steps of saying, okay, what feels good? What do I see as the challenges? What I also need to go look at Voxer, and
Yeah.
perhaps I've got a couple of private clients right now that I might be able to say, "Hey, will you be my guinea pig with this?"
Yeah, I would love to suggest going and looking at Voxer and test driving it a little bit as or even before you mull it over, because you'll have more information to
Right.
mull, right?
Yep. Yep. Exactly.
Yeah. Great. Well, I'm so
Yeah.
happy that you came on the show today. Thank
Yeah,
you for
thank
being
you.
here. And I'm happy to share those tech tools with you. I was very Voxer resistant in the beginning, but I've grown to really, really love it. And it's a
Well, yeah,
helpful
when I
tool.
got my first cell phone, I was real resistant to texting.
Uh-huh.
"Why don't you just call me?" And then I realized what the benefit of texting was, and then
Yeah.
a boyfriend was like, "Oh, texting there," and I got him started texting, and he's like, "Oh, this is so nice." So it
Yeah.
sounds like it's gonna have similar benefits.
Yeah, I think so. So, all right, you're going to go check out Voxer. You're going to test it out with a friend or a client, and then
Yep,
just really think through our conversation and decide how aligned it all feels and then how to move
yep,
forward. That sounds
exactly.
great. So, for
Oh,
our
thank you.
listeners, what I want to invite you to do is looking at whatever current offering you may have, just playfully tap into that creative intelligence. You don't have to make any changes, but what a fun brainstorm or imagination project, if you will. Brainstorm. How could you scale your systems? What might it look like to scale your team? And what might it look like to scale your clients? And with that, I'm going to sign off for the week. Thanks, everybody, for being here. And we'll see you again next Sunday.